It surprises me beyond belief that many beginner and intermediate players don't actually know what the ABCs of chess. So I'll be rectifying that in this video coming straight up. Hey everybody, National Master Sean Lei here with the third episode of Quick Tips in Chess, where I give you the quick tips you guys need to know to improve your chess skills extremely quickly. Now before we begin, let us first define what the ABCs of chess and why they're so important. Now the ABCs of chess are basically the three things you have to do at the very beginning of the chess if you want to become an intermediate/advanced player. If you don't do these three things very often, more often than not, your opponents will be able to take advantage of them and you will not have a good time when playing chess. Also, the ABCs of chess helps allow you to basically learn the basic ideas and what you should be doing in the opening. So whenever you guys are confused and you don't know what to do, follow the ABCs and you guys will be A-OK. So let's begin with the A in the ABCs of chess. And this is what I like to call attack the center. Where are the center squares? And what is the center in chess? These are the four center squares in chess. E4, E5, D4, and D5. And the reason why these four squares are so important is because if you're able to control these squares, not only are you able to attack your opponent better because it's close to everywhere on the board, but also it's very easy to defend yourself if you ever need to, right? So when I say control the center, I mean not just with your pawns by moves like pawn e4, which is a very good first move, or pawn d4, which is equally as good, but also by bringing in pieces like the knight, the bishop, to control the center. You don't want to be bringing your pieces or pawns or moving pawns on the edge of the board. I see a lot of beginners moving moves like pawn h4 or pawn a4 at the very beginning, trying to get their rooks into the game. That's not very good for another reason, but just don't move the h pawn, a pawn, b pawn, or g pawn too early in the game. If you guys followed this strategy in the first 10 moves, you guys would get into a very comfortable middle game by just moving moves like e4. Let's say your opponent's a bad player, he plays a5, and then you can play pawn d4. And now we get to the second step. What does the B stand for in the ABCs of chess? The B stands for bring out the pieces. Now, what pieces do I mean? When I say pieces, generally I mean the minor pieces, the pieces that are worth 3 points each. The knight and bishop are both worth 3 points, and they're the pieces you want to bring out early. You don't want to move out your queen or rook because they can be easily attacked, and since you don't want to lose them, you're going to have to move them around quite a bit, which you do not want to do early on in the game. Instead, we want to move the knight. So either we want to move the knight here or the knight here. So I'm going to give you a question. Where do you think we should move the knight? Based off the first thing we learned today. Should we move the knight to f3 or should we move the knight to h3? So pause your clocks. And I hope you guys came to the conclusion. Knight to f3, that's their opponent plays b6, is a much better move than knight h3. Because what does knight f3 do other than bring out a piece? It brings out a piece towards the center, which is something you guys always want to do and want to make sure that you guys understand you guys are doing when you guys are playing. The center is much more important than the sides of the board. So let's say our opponent's just trolling. He's playing knight h6, he's at knight a6, he's having a good time. So where do you think we should move this knight? Now, if you guys have been paying attention, obviously here, that's our opponent's trolling even more. He moves there. We can bring out a bishop here because it controls the center squares and is attacking a very important square in f7. Say he plays pawn g6. We can bring our bishop to f4. So now we have our pieces on very good squares. They're all controlling the center. We're doing very great things with our pieces. Our opponent, let's see, is not controlling that many squares. In fact, he's only controlling these squares in this position while we control like almost the entire board at this point. Our pieces are very strong. We're doing very good. And so white's position is obviously already a lot better. Which leads us to the last thing we want to do in chess, in the opening at least, in the ABCs of chess, is the C, which is castle the king. I cannot stress this enough. Castling the king is extremely important. Whether you castle on the king side or queen side, it really doesn't matter at the beginner levels, but I do tend to prefer the king side if you were just starting out, because the king side allows your king to become very safe, and so you don't have to worry about any of your opponent's attacks. You don't have to be worried about anything your opponent might spring up on you because your king is safe. Another thing you want to be focused on is basically you want to have your rooks connected because that is essentially developing a piece for your rooks. Look how great your rooks are doing. They're protected, they're doing very well. And so that's basically it. That's the ABCs of chess. A, again, is attack the center. B is bring out the pieces. And lastly, C is to castle your king. If you follow these 3 steps in all your games, even if you have no clue what you're doing, have no idea what opening theory is, and basically no clue what is happening in chess, you guys, I assure you, 100% will have a very good game, and that you guys will do very well to get into the intermediate levels. The ABCs of chess are incredibly important if you want to improve in chess. Now, something else that is also incredibly important is knowing the difference between a good and bad bishop. If you don't know what that is, check out that video over there for another quick tip, episode 2.